It's Thursday, 3 October. Welcome to the PDB Afternoon Bulletin. I'm Mike Baker, your eyes and ears on the world stage. Let's get briefed. First, we've got several updates out of the Middle East, where Israel has stepped up their targeting of Iranian interests in Syria as fighting inside Lebanon intensifies between Hezbollah and the IDF. We're also learning that the de facto prime minister of Gaza and right-hand man of Hamas leader Yahya Sinwar was killed in an Israeli airstrike. Then we'll be looking at a troubling, but to be fair, not surprising report from the Inspector General at the Department of Homeland Security, the DHS, which found that the Biden administration has been releasing non-citizens without identification into the U.S. and letting them fly domestically, all without conducting comprehensive security screenings. Well, as someone with decades of security experience, I don't see how that goes wrong. But first, our afternoon spotlight. Israel is stepping up their strikes on Iranian interests in Syria as leaders in Jerusalem continue to contemplate a response to Iran's missile attack on Tuesday. Israel is suspected to have carried out airstrikes on the Syrian capital of Damascus on both Tuesday and Wednesday, though in keeping with their policy on foreign operations, Israel has not commented on the activity. State media in Iran, however, reported Thursday that a senior military advisor with Iran's Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps, the IRGC, had been severely wounded in the strikes and later succumbed to his injuries. That's according to Reuters. Now, while little is known about the IRGC advisor in question, and officials in Tehran have not commented, Iran has long stationed officers in Syria to coordinate weapons deliveries to their many regional proxies. Syria, in particular, has served as the Iranian regime's primary smuggling route to get arms to Hezbollah militants in Lebanon and Palestinian militants in the West Bank. You'll recall that Israel carried out an airstrike at the beginning of April this year in Damascus that killed Mohammad Reza Zahedi, a senior commander in the IRGC, who was instrumental in facilitating Iranian regime relations and support to Syria, as well as Hezbollah and other Iranian proxies. Zahedi was the most senior IRGC commander taken off the playing field since the killing of IRGC Major General Qasem Soleimani in 2020. Meanwhile, Israeli operations in Lebanon targeting Hezbollah militants have significantly intensified, with the IDF unleashing several airstrikes on Wednesday and Thursday, hitting some 200 targets across southern Lebanon. Officials said one of the strikes took out 15 Hezbollah militants operating out of a municipal building in a Lebanese village, while another leveled a building in central Beirut housing Hezbollah's media offices. Additionally, Israeli officials said they hit Hezbollah's intelligence headquarters in central Beirut. Israel appears to be leaving, frankly, no stone unturned as they work to degrade Hezbollah's remaining military capabilities. The strikes came after 8 Israeli soldiers were killed during a firefight with the militants in southern Lebanon on Wednesday, the first Israeli fatalities of the limited ground invasion that they launched on Tuesday. Outside of Lebanon, the IDF also provided a major update out of Gaza, confirming Thursday that the right-hand man of Hamas leader and 7 October mastermind Yahya Sinwar was killed earlier this summer in an airstrike on an underground compound in the Gaza Strip. Rahi Mustafa, who functioned as the de facto prime minister of Gaza, was one of 3 top Hamas members to be killed in the previously unreported strike. He was the most senior figure in the Hamas political bureau in the Gaza Strip, maintaining civil control in the enclave since the war kicked off. Officials with the IDF said Hamas did not announce his death at the time of the strike, which occurred roughly 3 months ago, to prevent a loss of morale among their terror operatives. An IDF spokesman said, quote, Mustafa was Sinwar's right-hand man and one of his closest associates. Sinwar is still thought to be alive inside Gaza, hiding in Hamas's hidden tunnel network, where he has reportedly long been using hostages as human shields. While the IDF has located Sinwar at times, they have not been able to proceed with a strike due to the risks posed to the hostages. Coming up, we'll look at a troubling report from the Department of Homeland Security Inspector General, which found that the Biden administration has been releasing high-risk non-citizens without identification into the U.S. and letting them fly domestically, of course. I'll be right back. Welcome back to the Afternoon Bulletin. A heavily redacted report from the Department of Homeland Security Inspector General reveals that several federal agencies, including U.S. Customs and Border Protection, CBP, and U.S. Immigration and Customs Enforcement, ICE, failed to assess the risks of releasing non-citizens without identification into the U.S. and allowing them on domestic flights. Really, is that something that you need to work hard at to assess? Is that going to be a problem? If only we knew. IG Joseph Kafari stated that under federal law, quote, non-citizens without ID are not admissible into the country and shall be detained. However, CBP and ICE have the authority to release non-citizens into the U.S. under specific circumstances, despite concerns about the security risks posed by individuals without identification. The report reveals that CBP and ICE rely on self-reported biographical information to issue immigration forms, allowing individuals without identification to travel domestically. When Kafari requested data on how many non-citizens without IDs were released between fiscal years 2021 and 2023, CBP and ICE could not provide it, as their systems do not track whether non-citizens possess identification. Look, I'm not an expert in creating forms, but it seems like there would be a line on a form somewhere that would simply say, this interview subject has identification, yes or no. Well, perhaps the government could put together a task force to study how to add that sentence to whatever form they're currently using. The Transportation Security Administration's role, that's TSA, of course, in this process was also scrutinized. The report found that TSA relies on data provided by CBP and ICE to determine if non-citizens without ID pose a security threat. However, TSA's screening measures may be compromised if the data it receives from those agencies is incomplete or inaccurate. So, in plain speak, TSA relies on the information provided by CBP and ICE, and CBP and ICE, according to the DHS report, basically provide completely crap information. Okay, now since this is a family show, if kids are listening, earmuffs. So, TSA relying on CBP and ICE for information when CBP and ICE don't have information is what, in technical terms, would be called a circle jerk. Okay, you can take your earmuffs off, kids. The IG's report pointed to several alarming cases where high-risk individuals entered the U.S. due to inadequate screening. In one case, a non-citizen on the FBI terror watch list was released in 2022. Another, involving two Afghan individuals who were paroled under the 2021 Operation Allies Welcome Program, they were later deemed as national security threats. Kafari's report warns, quote, if CBP and ICE continue to allow non-citizens whose identities immigration officers can't confirm to enter the country, they may inadvertently increase national security risks, end quote. Well, thank God that the U.S. government spent money so that the DHS IG could produce profound findings like that. It's important to note that significant portions of the report remain heavily redacted, especially regarding TSA's assessment of the CBP One mobile app, which is used as a screening tool. ICE and CBP, well, they disputed the report's findings, while DHS disagreed with its conclusions. CBP noted its facilities are only for short-term detention with legal time limits, and DHS cited limited resources and detention capacity as reasons for not detaining all non-citizens without ID. TSA argued that the report misrepresented current policies. Well, frankly, it doesn't sound like they're actually disputing the findings. It sounds like they're giving the reasons for why they let undocumented, unidentified, and unvetted illegal migrants into the country. These responses sparked outrage from some lawmakers. Representative Mark Green, chairman of the House Homeland Security Committee, criticized the situation to Fox News, stating, quote, the colossal failures documented by the Office of Inspector General are bad enough. Even worse is that they're happening on a daily basis with the blessing of the Biden-Harris White House, end quote. Now, despite pushback from federal agencies, IG Kafari's report concludes the inability to confirm the identities of non-citizens released into the U.S. poses serious national security risks. Again, that, of course, is a massive statement of the obvious. And they call for improvements to the screening processes. And that, my friends, is the PDB Afternoon Bulletin for Thursday, 3 October. If you have any questions or comments, please reach out to me at pdb@thefirsttv.com. To listen to the show ad-free, become a premium member of the President's Daily Brief by visiting pdbpremium.com. And remember, mark your calendars, maybe, with a big star or a smiley face. A brand new episode of our extended weekend show, the PDB Situation Report, graces the airwaves starting tomorrow at 10 p.m. on the First TV, as well as on our YouTube channel at President's Daily Brief, and as if you didn't know, all the podcast platforms. I'm Mike Baker. I'll be back tomorrow. Until then, stay informed, stay safe, stay cool.